Welcome to the first Los Angeles real estate update of 2025. Before we get into the numbers, I think we should talk about the wildfires that have ravaged Los Angeles over the past week. First, I want to take a second to acknowledge the incredible tragedy this is for so many Los Angeles families. I myself live in one of the affected communities. I live in Pasadena. Fortunately, my home is several miles south of the evacuation zone, so my home was never in real risk of danger. However, I have friends who have lost their homes. I have friends whose children's school is no longer standing, and it's an unspeakable tragedy to be in that position. Already, people have been asking me in person and through comments on videos how this will affect the Los Angeles housing market. I think it's far too early to say. However, there are two things we know for sure. One, rents just got more expensive in Los Angeles. We've seen this on social media, people posting apartment for rent ads where prices have suddenly gone up 10, 15, 20% in the past week. Obviously, there are a lot of homeowners on both sides of town that now need homes to rent. The other thing we know for sure is that the number of homes sold in the next couple weeks is going to drop off. That's simply a function of the fact that insurers have put a moratorium on new policies in about 20 Los Angeles zip codes. I have a client who's in contract on a home in one of these zip codes, and that's the word we've gotten from his insurance contacts. How this plays out over the rest of 2025, we really can't say for sure right now, so subscribe. I'll be following the numbers closely and relaying to you all of the market impacts of the Palisades and Eden fires as we see them. In terms of what the numbers are actually telling us this week, well, the Los Angeles market is getting off to a pretty weak start. Prices are low and it looks like they should fall in the coming weeks. Even though new listings are coming to market pretty slowly, active listings are way up. But is it enough? A close look at this week's numbers indicates why the Los Angeles market will continue to be a challenge, even while inventory surges relatively. Welcome to this week's Los Angeles real estate update for January 15th, 2025. I'm Jon Schwartz, California's 1% homebuyer agent. Look, the less you have to pay your agent, the more you can offer to the seller, and that's how you win the home of your dreams. Learn more about working with a 1% commission agent at jonsch.com. That's JONSCH.com. Now let's get into the numbers. And we're looking at the latest weekly data for the Los Angeles metro market published by Redfin. We have our first data point for the year. Right now, the median sale price of a home in Los Angeles is starting the year at $901,000. Now that's 7% over last year's starting price point. What's also interesting is we are now $31,000 below the July peak that was set in 2024. Good demonstration of why, if you can find the right home, it's great to buy a home in the winter. Prices are always lower in the winter. So even though we're 7% higher than we were this time last year, we're still over $30K off the highs of last summer. The median price of a new listing in Los Angeles is starting the year at $863,750. That's down from last week's $878,124. This suggests that prices should continue to fall off a bit in the weeks ahead, and that's standard. Prices usually fall off until the first or second week of February, and then that's when prices begin to rise again. For new listings, this week saw 586 new listings on the California market. That's down 2% from last year. This is always a low inventory time. Inventory really picks up in the spring, then of course peaks in the summer. So I'm not surprised by these numbers. That said, homes sold is way up from last year. We're looking at 874 homes sold this past week in Los Angeles. That's up 15.3% from the first week of last year. You can see it's a nice little jump there. That said, when we look at pending sales, we see that pending sales, 770, were only 2.1% over the same week last year. So with homes sold being elevated 15% over the same week last year, but pending sales being elevated only 2% over the same week last year, that means that we should start to see homes sold data move toward last year's homes sold data. So this surge in homes sold that we're seeing right now should be calming down in the weeks ahead. Finally, we get to active listings, and active listings are huge to start the year. There are currently 12,842 active listings on the Los Angeles market. That's up 15.44% over the first week of the year last year. Looking at this makes you think, wow, we're in a relatively inventory-rich market. This is why prices are low and probably getting lower. Maybe this is even an inflection point. Is it? Well, There's one stat we can look at to answer that question conclusively. And now we're looking at weeks supply, which is my favorite metric. It balances supply and demand. It is literally the equation of active inventory divided by the number of houses sold this week. And what we get is a weeks of supply number of 15.1, which is only 0.2 weeks more supply than the same week last year. We'll see how the fires affect things, but I think broadly speaking, there's an expectation of more inventory, but also an expectation of more demand. And that's going to be the challenge with the Los Angeles housing market as we move into 2025. Los Angeles is a supply-constrained market. There are always buyers waiting in the wing as soon as more supply comes to market. And if you're planning on buying a home in Los Angeles in 2025, I suggest you check out my 2025 California Homebuyers Guide with all of the updates, news, and information that you need to make sure you're making the right decision with your home purchase this year. See you next week.